All right, let's dive in. If you're trying to plan your investments for 2025, you've probably realized the old maps just won't cut it anymore. The whole global economy is shifting, and that means the rules for success are changing right along with it. So today, we're going to decode this new landscape and draw up a fresh map for the year ahead. Let's get to it. I mean, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? The days of a synchronized global recovery where you could just buy almost anything and watch it go up, well, those days are over. That playbook that worked so well for the last decade, yeah, it's pretty much obsolete. We need a whole new strategy, one that's built for a world that's no longer moving in lockstep. Okay, if there's one word you need to burn into your brain for 2025, it's this one: divergence. It's the simple idea that different parts of the world are now on completely different tracks. You've got some economies growing, others are slowing down. Central banks are cutting rates in one place while holding them steady or even tightening in another. This desynchronization, it is the defining theme for every single investor right now. So here's the game plan, our new map for this journey. First, we're going to dig into what we're calling the Great Divergence. Then we'll build out our 2025 strategy with 5 key pillars: looking beyond US markets, investing in the future, grabbing a hold of the return of income, and of course, hedging against all this uncertainty. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the most important takeaway. Right, before we jump into solutions, we have to get our heads around the problem. The global market is basically splitting apart along 3 major fault lines. Getting a clear picture of these is absolutely the critical first step. First up, and this is a big one, we've got this massive growth gap. Just look at the numbers. Advanced economies, think the US and Europe, they're forecast to grow at a pretty sluggish 1.7%. But meanwhile, emerging markets are set to take off at 4.2%. I mean, that's more than double the pace. This gap is a huge flashing sign, pointing to where the real opportunities are going to be. Next, let's talk about fault line number 2, monetary policy. For years, all the big central banks kind of marched to the same beat. Well, that music has stopped. In Europe, they're cutting rates to try and prop up their economies. Here in the US, stubborn inflation means the Fed is hitting the pause button. And then you have Japan, which might actually keep tightening. This creates some serious volatility for currencies and bonds. And that brings us to our third fault line, geopolitics. All the uncertainty around US trade policy, this rise of regional economic blocs, and China's own structural slowdown, it's creating a really unpredictable environment. Look, this stuff isn't just background noise on the news. It has a direct impact on asset prices, and it really favors countries with strong, resilient economies of their own. Okay, so that's the world we're dealing with. It's complex, right? But don't worry, we've got a playbook. 5 key pillars designed to help you navigate and even thrive in this new reality. Let's break them down one by one. All right, let's kick things off with pillar 1. For what feels like forever, the US market has been the only game in town. But as we head into 2025, sticking only to the US isn't just leaving money on the table, it's actually getting pretty risky. And this table, wow, it really lays out the story. The S&P 500 in the US is trading at a forward price to earnings ratio of over 22. That's basically how much you're paying for every dollar of expected earnings. And let me tell you, over 22 is steep, historically speaking. Now compare that to Europe at around 14 and Japan at 16. You're simply paying a lot less for future growth once you step outside of the US. And if you want a picture of that risk, look no further. Think about this. Almost 40% of the entire S&P 500's value is tied up in just 10 giant tech companies. That is an incredible, almost dangerous lack of diversification. If just a few of those giants happen to stumble, the whole index is going to feel it. It creates this very precarious, no margin for error environment for investors. So where do we look? Well, Japan is a really fascinating story right now. And it's not just that it's cheaper. There's a profound structural change happening. A revolution in corporate governance is finally unlocking value for shareholders. The country is shaking off decades of deflation, wages are actually rising, and that's firing up domestic spending. And even after some good runs, its stock market is still a bargain compared to the US. Okay, on to pillar number 2. In a world where overall growth is kind of slow, you have to be able to find those powerful long-term trends. The idea here is to find those massive secular themes, the kind of thing that's going to grow no matter what the rest of the economy is doing. These are the trends that are going to define the next decade. And when we talk about emerging markets, India is just shining right now. With China slowing down, India is really stepping up to become the new anchor. Its growth is being fueled by these powerful internal forces: a young population, a booming middle class, and policies that are attracting a ton of investment. And the crucial part is, its growth isn't totally dependent on fragile global trade. Now let's talk about what might be the single biggest theme out there: the intersection of artificial intelligence and the energy transition. These two revolutions aren't separate anymore. They're feeding each other, creating this incredible investment supercycle. So the question is, how do you play this? The smart way to think: picks and shovels. Instead of trying to guess which AI app is going to win, you invest in the essential stuff that makes it all possible. We're talking about the specialized semiconductors that are basically the brains of AI, the data centers that house all that computing power, and the utilities that have to provide the insane amounts of electricity they need. And all that AI, it's incredibly power hungry. And that hunger for energy creates a whole other massive opportunity on the energy side. See, the challenge isn't just making power. It's making clean and reliable 24/7 power. This is turbocharging the need for things like grid-scale battery storage, so renewables can work around the clock. And it's pushing new technologies like small modular nuclear reactors right into the spotlight as a way to get carbon-free power for those data centers. All right, pillar number 3, and this is a good one. For the first time in well over a decade, you can actually earn a decent, reliable income from your portfolio without taking on some crazy amount of risk. After years of being pretty boring, let's be honest, bonds are officially back in a big way. But here's the catch: you have to be smart. Not all bonds are created equal. Right now, the best bang for your buck, the best risk reward, is in high-quality investment-grade debt. But on the flip side, in the high-yield space, what people often call junk bonds, the extra yield you're getting for taking on that risk is near historic lows. You're just not getting paid enough to take on that gamble right now. Simple as that. Now, if you are looking for a bit more yield, the really strategic play is in emerging market debt. You've got a weakening US dollar on the horizon, central banks are cutting rates more aggressively, and you get a nice yield advantage. It all comes together to create this kind of Goldilocks scenario where you could potentially benefit from both rising bond prices and a rising local currency. Okay, let's get to our last investment pillar, and it's a crucial one: protecting your portfolio. In a world with sky-high government debt and all sorts of geopolitical tensions, having some assets that zag when stocks and bonds zig is not just a good idea, it's absolutely essential. And for this, we've got a tale of two hedges. On one side, you have gold, the classic, timeless safe haven. It's getting a boost from record buying by central banks who are trying to diversify away from the dollar. On the other side, you've got digital assets like Bitcoin, which are starting to see real institutional adoption as this kind of modern digital gold diversifier. The key here, and I really want to stress this, is a small, calculated allocation to digital assets working alongside a core holding in gold. So we've covered a lot of ground. We've mapped out this complex, divergent world. What's the one thing you absolutely have to take away from all this? It's that just buying an index fund and hoping for the best is no longer going to cut it. In a world of divergence, just buying the market means you're buying expensive, concentrated risk. Success in 2025 is going to come from being selective, from actively picking the right countries, the right sectors, and the right individual investments. And that really brings us to the final question, the one I want to leave you with today. As you think about the map we've just laid out, the growth gaps, the different policy paths, the new opportunities, take a really honest look at your own strategy and ask yourself, is my portfolio built for this new world of divergence, or is it still stuck in the past?